The sun had just begun to rise over the Persian capital of Susa, casting golden light on the royal palace. Nehemiah, a Jew serving as the cupbearer to King Artaxerxes, moved through the corridors with practiced grace. But his heart was heavy. News had reached him from Jerusalem. The city lay in ruins, its gates burned, its walls crumbled, and its people in disgrace. Though he served in the comfort of the king's court, Nehemiah's spirit was tethered to a broken city hundreds of miles away. For days he had fasted and prayed, crying out to the God of heaven. He confessed the sins of his people, of his ancestors, and even his own. He begged for favor, for mercy, for the chance to do something. The pain he carried began to show on his face, until even the king noticed. One day, as Nehemiah stood before Artaxerxes to offer him wine, the king paused and studied him closely. "Why is your face sad, though you are not ill?" he asked. "This can only be sadness of the heart." Nehemiah was terrified. To appear unhappy in the king's presence was dangerous. Yet he gathered his courage and replied, "May the king live forever. Why should I not be sad when the city where my ancestors are buried lies in ruins, and its gates have been destroyed by fire?" The king looked at him intrigued. "What is it you want?" In that moment, Nehemiah breathed a silent prayer to God. Then, carefully, he laid out his request. "If it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in your sight, send me to the city in Judah where my ancestors are buried, so I can rebuild it." The queen was sitting beside the king. There was a moment of silence. Then the king spoke. "How long will your journey take, and when will you return?" Nehemiah gave a time frame. To his amazement, the king agreed. Encouraged, Nehemiah asked for more. Letters to the governors of the lands he would pass through so he could travel safely, and a letter to Asaph, the keeper of the royal forest, to supply timber for the gates, walls, and a house for himself. The king granted all his requests because the gracious hand of God was on him. With official papers and an armed escort, Nehemiah set out for Jerusalem. The journey was long and dangerous, crossing rivers and foreign provinces, but eventually he arrived in the city his heart had longed to see. The sight that greeted him was grim. The walls were torn down, stones scattered, gates blackened by fire. The once proud city of David lay defenseless and exposed. Nehemiah told no one why he had come. For 3 nights, he slipped out in silence with only a few men. Riding a donkey, he inspected the ruins under the cover of darkness. He passed through the valley gate, the dung gate, and the fountain gate, taking in the broken walls and shattered gates. In some places, the rubble was so thick his donkey couldn't pass. He had to climb over debris to see more. When he returned, he gathered the leaders, priests, and officials of Jerusalem and finally spoke. "You see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, so we will no longer be in disgrace." He told them how God's hand had been upon him, how even the mighty Persian king had supported his mission. The people were moved. Hope stirred in their hearts for the first time in years. They responded with one voice, "Let us rise up and build." And they strengthened their hands for the work. But not everyone was pleased. When Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite, and Geshem the Arab heard about it, they mocked and ridiculed the effort. "What is this you are doing?" they sneered. "Are you rebelling against the king?" Nehemiah stood firm. He didn't flinch. "The God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will start rebuilding. But as for you, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim to it." And so the work began, not just with stones and timber, but with renewed purpose, united hearts, and a fierce determination to restore what was lost. Though enemies threatened and obstacles loomed, a broken city was about to rise again.